for me and my stuff, I lie. I turn around, lies of omission. I don't tell her stuff, fear, judgment, abandonment, or, huge issues, so forth and so on. So came that week, she found out something else. She works for me too. So she's the creative director. I mean, she puts her heart and soul into all of this. She's got a special needs son, super high functioning. He's actually, I mean, genius level, but he's autistic. So it's a challenge. Her ex-husband is a fucking asshole, does nothing. So all of this combined, I mean, it's hard enough when people are semi-normal to get a relationship going. All of this combined led to her saying, you know what, I'm done. She says, I can't do this, with your lying, you don't tell me stuff, your family, I'm not involved with it. She says, why do I like myself too much to turn around and, be subjected to this. So that was, again, February 15th, something like that. I started talking to her back and forth, still, it's not the first time, it's not the second, it's probably the 10th time it happened that she kicked me out.
Okay.
Yeah. Wasn't going anywhere, like text messaging and stuff. There wasn't any of the salutations like, hey, babe, or love you, or whatever. And by happenstance, I came across your course on, Facebook or wherever it was. I made an appointment with Justin. I was on the phone with him for 2 hours. And honestly, Josh, I got more out of that 2 hours than fucking 10 years of therapy with marriage counselors. And they got that Catholic retreat called Retrovi. And, yeah, it was like I connected like on a totally different level with him. And that's how I got involved in the course.
Wow. And how long ago was that when you came into the program?
It's maybe not even 4 weeks ago.
Weeks. And in that time period, where are things at right now?
Oh my God, it's fucking like, 0 to 100.
Like a 180 degree.
Back down to 0 and back up to 100. So,
well, let's walk through all that one step at a time. So like, let's start with the positive and then we'll go back to where you're at kind of now. And so what were some of the changes positively that occurred and what happened there?
I started going through the course material.
Yeah.
And what I did was some of the potency actions, I sent her flowers. We already had pre-planned, tickets. We had tickets to the Knicks game. We had tickets to Lincoln Center. So the positives on it were, she works for me, so we got to be in communication. The flowers, I sent her those. That was definitely a positive. And also the hope. The biggest thing was, and you had said it too, if you lose hope, you got nothing. And I could see little things within her. And it wasn't, again, the text messages, it was just little things here and there. And especially after speaking to Justin, it was, no, he says, I see, this is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Then it came, we went to 3 different things, actually. So we went to a concert at the Met, not long after, maybe a week after she told me we're done. I tried to put my arm around her, my hand on her, leg. She said, She said, shoot it away. All right. We went to Lincoln Center then to see this great show about Black history and stuff. That was more positive. And it was late, got back to the apartment. She says, it's late. I don't want you driving. And I stayed over and we slept in the same bed. Then we went to a Knicks game. And I mean, it was almost like old times and everything to a certain extent. Really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. On the way back, she started talking about the problems and reiterated the same thing. It's like, all right, I was in the course then, I asked for advice from guys and stuff like that. And they turned around and said, no, you're going, guys would kill to have a date with their wife or whatever. So we connected on a Friday on the phone. We were on the phone for, I'm telling you, probably 6 hours. Wow. So, and it was just going over things that she's feeling. And she says, listen, I got to tell you something. She said, I booked the plane tickets in the house for my parents' anniversary in May 3 weeks ago. And she was thinking about it. And she said, it's her family and I'm her family as well. So she says, I don't want to be down there without you. James doesn't want to be down there without you. He's going to be asking about you. And we started talking about all of this and family, and we made plans actually to, we were going to go away to Sedona this week because she said, you never made any plans for my 50th birthday. So we were making plans to go to Sedona, and I ended up, coming into the city then last week. And I stayed there the whole time with her while our friend was in hospice. She was helping out her best friend. We were talking, we were, super emotional, crazy, up and down roller coaster and stuff like that.
And
I
so
asked the
what specifically do you feel like you did in regards to the course material that led to, besides the potency actions, what else other actions did you take that kind of led to that?
I told her that I was in this course. I said, listen,
Oh,
oh yeah.
so usually that kind of like a lot of women will say like, I don't care if you're in this course, don't do it for me. It's over anyway. So like, what was different about that, you think?
When I told her about the course, I said, listen, I joined a group, and she's like asking, what's it about? I said, it's a group of guys, who have commonality in. I said, and it's not unlike a 12-step. I said, there's a program to follow, there's things to do, and it's really just focused on being the best version of yourself, irrespective of what the outcome is with relationships and stuff like that. Something that she's been talking about, forever.
Yeah.
The point being that she's happy for me. She says, you need friends. You don't have any friends. You need to turn around and, connect with other guys. She says, I'm thrilled. And she can see the difference. And she was like, oh my God, she says, it's the best.
What are some of those changes she sees?
Open, honest, not being, to your point, not being needy, not being controlling, not pushing. Monday, I got a call from my daughter that she's pregnant again. So I'm like, oh my God, like amazing, whatever. All of a sudden I'm like totally fearful of telling Ann about it because of what's going on. So I call her, I preface it with saying that this was Tuesday morning. She's coming out with James because he has a house in the Hamptons too, and he needs to see what's going on. I preface it with, I got to tell you something, but I'm afraid to tell you. And I told her, that Jackie's pregnant. She's like, why would you be afraid to tell me? And I said, well, I don't know how you would react or whatever. She comes out here, goes to one of the jobs, things blow up completely. She drives back to the city with James. She calls me that night. She says, I don't know why you would be afraid to tell me, this, and just on and on and on about you. And then she went on to say that this never changes. She was super, mad. She says, I'm mad, really mad at you. You've ruined me financially, a couple of times. You and your ex-wife are the most, fucked up people I've ever known. I don't know why I'm doing this, on and on and on. So I was like, what the fuck happened? So I went on Facebook.
That's that dual mind narrative, right? Like you trigger that sore spot, that wound, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for you, Ralf, like where does the motivation come from? Is it the fear of just like making it worth it? Like she finds out it gets worse, like
yeah.
Try to protect your intention is to protect her, right? That there's the positive intention, right? But the result of the consequences is not that, right?
Oh my God. It's exactly the opposite. So it's the fear of abandonment. It's funny because what ended up happening then, I went on Facebook, bunch of guys gave, advice and everything. I couldn't sleep for shit that night or anything. I actually connected with the guy in the city, and he was on Facebook with me on PMing until 1 o'clock in the morning. And he says, well, what's the reason? And he gave me his reason. It's fear of abandonment. And like all of a sudden the light bulb clicked off. And he said, all the guys were saying, don't reach out. Antonio said, don't reach out, or give her time to cool off, whatever. And lo and behold, 8:30 that morning, she calls me. And I'm freaking out, like anxiety. I'm like, oh shit, is it about work, whatever? Yeah. So I checked in with Antonio. He said, call her back. I checked in with Paul as well, and he turned around and gave me some advice. I called her, and Josh, you could have knocked me over with a feather. She turns around and says, I have to apologize. And I was like, what the fuck? And she says, I'm really mad. She says, I'm mad at a lot of things. I know you're overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed, super emotional with what happened with Val and, the past week and on and on.
Can I just say right there, I want to embed this lesson into my mind even more because I haven't seen so much like so many guys, and you can attest to this. When things are falling apart, we want to fix it or be like, I got to do something, right? The action of inaction is an action in itself. Is taking space, letting things settle, to thus settle before you fuck shit up even more. Excuse my language, but that's what guys do when things are falling apart. They try to fix it. They just make it worse. But like you taking space allows her to calm down, reassess the situation, and then come back to you, right?
Oh my God, that is so key with all of this because, again, me. And a lot of guys, they spoke to us, we want to fix it right away. Take the logical end. Well, this is fucked up, so let me call her. And in the past, that's what I would do. I would chase her. I would be needy. I would, text her, and she'd be like, "Get the fuck out of here. Leave me alone. I asked for space."
Mhm.
And I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And how often is the hardest thing to do the right thing, because you're going against who you are in that moment, but who you are has gotten you the results you've gotten, right? So you have to go against that, because your emotions are designed to keep you where you're at, like to keep you the same patterns that you've learned as a kid growing up. It's like, no, we have to be the same way. But in those moments when everything is telling you to reach out or to call her, in those moments when you can take that space, pause, do a different action, that gives you the new results, and you just are proof of it right there, Ralph. So
my God, no, 100%, 100%. So, and even that quickly, I never, ever would have expected her to call that morning and to turn around and offer up an apology. And she said, "Look," she says, "I know everything. I know you better than you know yourself. I know everything that's happened." And she says, "I'm still here. So what are you afraid of?" Right?
I love how some of the wives have such like brilliant intuition into like your insecurities and fears, and bringing that out and just like putting it on the table for you. You know what I mean?
Right?
Mhm.
Right? She says, and getting into the point of the conversation that she had that morning, she says, "I'm mad." She says, "I'm really mad at you, but here's the other thing." She says, "I'm sad too, and I'm really in love with you." So she says, "You're gonna fuck this up." She said, "You have fucked this up. Don't do it."
Oh, it needs you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's self sabotage.
yeah. Self-fulfilling prophecy. This dual story in our minds, and you turn around and you create the story, and it actually comes to fruition.
So many guys, it's like I can't just like tell someone that verbally and have them get it. You have to like live through that experience and see it yourself. Right.
Yeah.
And so if you were to give advice to some other guy, if you were to listen to this, it's like, what is one thing that allowed you to recognize that self-fulfilling prophecy and that pattern in yourself?
The results. The results. What happens? You turn around, and the fear of what's going to happen will make that a reality. That's what it is. If you can't be open, again, I'm like fucking on a soapstone box here. If you can't be open
Oh,
and
go
honest,
on. Go on.
yeah, if
Preach.
you can't be open and honest with your wife, then there's nothing's, and she's not my wife, but then you got nothing. That's the cornerstone, like you said, with the foundation. You got to build it from the ground up again.
And I just have to reinforce you a little bit that, there's things that I see patterns. I'd be an idiot if I didn't see patterns of doing this for so long. The guys that get results, and, you know, giving yourself to the process is one, right? Like having that humility and being like, I caused this. This is because of me, right?
Yeah.
And like that utter just extreme ownership, as I say from Jocko Willink's book. And that's the first foundation, like that ownership and honesty. From there, it's like it doesn't always lead to the results as fast as it does with you, but at least I guarantee that it won't go anywhere if you don't start there, right? And so you started there, and I just want to reinforce that in me.